Good morning, all you car gals and guys. Welcome to another Cars and Coffee with me, Kenny Brown. And if you have a thirst for learning more about cars and performance, well, you're in the right place. Because over the next hour, we're going to talk a little tech. We're going to answer your questions and try to share some of my best experience and knowledge in the automotive industry and motorsports, so you get a better feel for how cars work. So we've got some really good questions this morning. Now, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to get this in early. If you're on YouTube, it's the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the little bell to get notices when we're doing live events. So you do the hat trick. Click them all. Facebook, please like and share with your friends, and you can actually start a watch party. There's some sort of clicking there somewhere that you do to start a watch party, because we love the more people we have, the better this gets. So this morning we got some really good questions, and don't forget you can send your questions in. Anything you want to know about or anything I'm talking about, please send a question in, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability at the end. But this morning is kind of we got some good subject matter. We're going to talk a little tech on our IRS carrier, the modifications that I do to it, and we're the only people that do. And our IRS business, believe it or not, is growing. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we thought in the what I'm working on category, Roy has had a problem with his 99 Cobra. It's a full-on race car. That's the one that has the dry sump Daytona prototype motor in it. And he's been fighting issues with the Hydroboost. It's kind of like on again, off again, on again, off again, where sometimes the brakes work, sometimes the steering works, sometimes they all work together. So he's getting pretty frustrated with it. So I'm gonna attempt to get rid of this problem, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So let me start off while we wait for some more people to join us. Let me start off with some of the questions we got this morning. And like I say, I got my paper all tangled up. And like I say, we got some good ones. Now, Herstifer, that's our Speed Therapy Academy alumni from Bulgaria. Said, on Sunday, I changed my brake pads and noticed my lug nuts were slow to the point where some moved from 21 to 22 millimeter socket. I know that OEM lugs for the 550 that have a problem, but I can't. Can anybody recommend a better aftermarket lug nuts suitable for the track and S550? Listen, there's some good ones out there. What you need is really a hardened lug nut. Now, if you really want to be positive about getting your lug nuts on and off, they do have, and they have them for the 550s. They've got them in the 14 1.5 thread size. It's actually a splined lug nut. Instead of having being like a hex, it's actually got splines so that the socket slides onto. It's super positive. I mean, if you're interested, let Rich know, and we'll get you fixed up with some splined lug nuts, which should be a lot better, because that way your socket's never going to slide off. I mean, it's just impossible. So there's something for you to think about. Now, Joe Johnson asked this question in the academy, but I thought it was good enough that we'll talk about this morning. He said, what do you think about the posi lock system to prevent movement of the IRS cradle? With this system, I think you can lower the IRS cradle and make the roll center lower. What am I missing? Okay, what Joe's talking about, and I had to look this up because I wasn't familiar with it. It's a company makes it's some aluminum pieces that fit in the gaps of the rubber mounting for the IRS carrier in the back. 550 is mounted in really spongy rubber, and the carrier moves all over the place. If anybody see any videos online about how much the carrier moves, it's pretty remarkable. Now, I don't have any experience with that particular system. We actually use something that's similar. We get from a different supplier that pretty much locks the IRS carrier in place. And with every single 550 car we lock the IRS carrier in place, because it just, you don't need that carrier moving around, because that's going to interrupt your handling and suspension in the back. As far as lowering the cradle, from what I saw, and I didn't have enough time to really dig into this particular system, I don't see where you could lower the cradle. The only way you could lower the cradle is put some washers or shims between the cradle and the body, but all that does is raise the body up. It really doesn't lower the carrier. And as far as the lowering the roll center, I'm yet to have the time to do a full geometry analysis on the 550 rear IRS. So I don't even really know where the roll center is, if it's up or down. So I really can't speak to that. But as far as some sort of system to lock the IRS carrier in place, absolutely. We do that to every single 550 car that we work on. So, okay, there's Joe's questions. Oh, I got big letters on here, newsletter, and Carrie's going to tell you about that in a minute. I'll probably miss something, but you really need to sign up. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, please do, because we're trying to make the newsletter a little more active with more information and stuff like that. And we're going to be announcing everything that's going to happen to be announcing through the newsletter, and also the Speed Therapy Society. If you're not a member of the society, please join, because that's where the questions come from that I answer on Saturday mornings, is from the society. So again, if you've got any more questions, like, send them in, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Okay, Antonio's question is, I'm having issues with my drive shaft and need to upgrade. What's your thoughts on carbon versus aluminum drive shafts? When do you recommend adding a drive shaft loop? Okay, I'm old-fashioned. I like the aluminum drive shafts. A long time ago, my late son Paul was leading a race with a carbon fiber drive shaft, and it exploded. I mean, all that was left was black dust. So he lost a race because his drive shaft exploded. And just recently, I think just last week, Rich said one of our customers also exploded carbon fiber drive shaft. Stick with aluminum. I mean, anybody that wants to make it quick and easy upgrade to their like 197 Mustang or even an SN95 Mustang is ditch the two-piece drive shaft in 197. It's big, it's heavy, and it's a lot of rotating mass. There's a lot of aluminum drive shafts out there. You can pick up power and performance really easy, because what you're doing is you're reducing rotating mass. I mean, the rotating mass is whatever goes around and around. It's like going to a lighter flywheel reduces rotating mass. And by reducing rotating mass, what happens is, if you've got a mass, like whatever weight it is, it takes horsepower to turn that around. Okay, if you cut that weight in half, it's going to take less horsepower to turn that, which means more horsepower is going to go all the way back to the rear wheels and get to the ground. So absolutely, I would go with aluminum drive shaft every time. It's something else we do to almost every car that we build. We put aluminum drive shaft in. Okay, Bill wants to know, as I'm thinking of upgrading coilovers in my 197, do you offer a lower cost option to the JRZs? So everybody knows our premium shock for the 197s is JRZ. And I mean, it's a great shock. They're custom built for me in the Netherlands. The shocks that Paul used to win the GTS championship. And we've had great luck with them. I mean, they're not stupid expensive like a motorsport shock, but they're as close as you can get to a motorsport shock without a big price tag, but they still cost a little bit. So what we've done, I mean, we have some other alternatives as far as coilovers, like an RSS kit, which is a single adjustable front and non-adjustable rear. But that's you're kind of locked in with the spring rates on that. And also with our new rear suspension, that we really can't use those rear shocks because they don't have enough shocking to increase spring rate we do. So we've got those, but also because with the new rear suspension, the K-Link, we have to go way up on rear spring rate to balance the car because it creates so much grip at the back. Because of that, the only shock we have that'll take that kind of spring rate is a JRZ. So what we did is we went to Strange. Now, Strange has been building SN95 struts and shocks for me for a long time. When we were in Chicago, I met with Dimitri, their shock guy. I bought my notebook of all the shock dynos that I collected over the years and said, this is kind of what I like. Can you duplicate that? And basically what he's done is he duplicated the shocks that I like the best for the SN95s. And for we got the double adjustable strut in the front, and then both single and double adjustable for the rear. So we thought that, okay, let's do the same thing for S197. Now, Strange only makes drag racing shocks. I mean, that's all you can buy at Strange. So we talked to them, and they put the same valving that we use in the SN95 in the S197 front strut, and it's a coilover. And then in the back, because of the nature of the K-link and how people are using it, we're only going to use a double adjustable in the back. And we can do that. We've got it worked out that we can either do a coil-on shock at the back, or we can do a coil-on axle. If you got huge tires and not quite enough room, because the coilover shock does take up some space because we have to use a 2.5 ID spring. The JRZs is 2.25, so it's a little narrower spring, but this is a little bit wider spring. We have to make a few little, body modifications, but they do work. So that's the good news. So the answer is yes, we do have a better cost alternative for the S197 as far as coilovers, especially if you're running a new rear suspension. And I think we probably, I just thought of this, we probably should do another closed introduction, another round of introduction for the new rear suspension, because we've been through three build lots, and I think we're ready to do more. So I just thought about this. We probably should start thinking about doing another special on the new rear suspension, because we're going to be available for more people now. So anyway, that's kind of where we are on the rear shocks. And at some point when we've actually got some in before they go in a car, I'll show you guys on Saturday mornings. So now this question is kind of going to lead into what we're going to talk about. So this is Tony for an 03 Camaro. Is it best to start with the rear grip kit or the front? I have a solid axle in there now, and I've got your strut tire brace front and rear, and installing your subframe connector. I'll be putting the IRS back in. Okay. It's like with any Mustang, I like starting at the back, because that seems to be the biggest problem with the Mustang is the back of the car. So I like starting at the back and going to the front. Like with the 197s, we got three components to the suspension: the rear grip kit, front grip kit, springs, and shocks. With the IRS cars, we actually have to do it a little bit differently. We have the full rear grip kit, the full grip kit in the back. But what we can do for the IRS, because it's a more complex package, we can do it we do it and offer it in stages. There's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. It's a full-on geometry fix. So to kind of give you a little idea, I just grabbed these just a minute ago. For upgrading the IRS, the first thing that we recommend is our stage 1, which is a combination of forward torque brakes, aluminum diff bushings, and rear steer kit. I just happened to pull some out to show you. This is our diff, our brace, and it is super strong. The factory one, if you look, it's a hollow tube and it has a big curve, and there's very little structural value in a curve. There's perfect structural value in straight lines. So this is super heavy duty, won't bend or move. And between that and then what we do is we add our kind of exclusive, we got a lot of exclusive stuff, come to think of it, diff bushings. Now, these are aluminum diff bushings. And what's kind of cool about these is, there's, the urethane and rubber, they kind of insulate it. Urethane is better than rubber, but this is better than urethane. And the reason is because it's solid. It doesn't move. It just locks the front of the diff solid. And the other thing is because it's aluminum, and then if you can see, we've got these big, small washers. We actually can turn this into a small heat sink to help pull some of the heat out of the IRS. Now, IRSs have, they get hot and there's no place for the heat to go. They're just, all this heat's just packaged in this little aluminum case. Or with a live axle car, you got all this metal mass to absorb heat, but IRS, there's nothing there. So they can't overheat. This is not enough heat sink value to run on track. If you're going to run on track with an IRS, you have to have a rear diff cooler. Because like I say, you got to get rid of that heat that builds up inside. But even so, for daily driving around town, this does a pretty good job of pulling heat out of the diff. The other thing is because we stack the washers on the bottom and put the differential mounts on top, we actually increase the rear pinion angle slightly. And something we noticed a long time ago is that, I can't remember the year, maybe 2000 or 2001, I can't remember, that there was the Cobras, some of them had like a driveline vibration issue, And we had one customer that had his Cobra to the dealer multiple times. You know, they changed drive shaft and they changed a whole bunch of parts, and still he still had the drive line vibration. We actually just put in, instead of the aluminum diff bushings, raised the pinion angle, the vibration went away. So it does a whole lot of good things. The third part of stage one is our rear steer kit, and that is the tie rod. We actually lower the inner point of the tie rod to improve rear roll steer. What I noticed, and when I was testing with Ford Racing down at Road Atlanta on their FR500 program, I can't remember what year it was, but we were actually testing down there, and on the FR500, that was the one that had the extended wheelbase with double wishbone and a really cool motor. What I noticed is at the far end of Road Atlanta, there's two sharp right-hand turns. On the second right-hand turn, at every single lap, at the same point, the back of the car would get loose. And also, it did the same thing to me under the bridge, heading down for the last turn, which is the really scary part for the car to get loose. So I came back and I we've done some looking at the geometry of the IRS, and so this time I really focused on the steering. And what I found is once the car got to a certain degree of roll, and don't ask me what that degree is because it was a long time ago. Once it got to a certain degree of roll, both rears would steer the wrong way. So if you're going around the right-hand corner, once it got to a certain degree of roll, both rear wheels would steer left and the car would get loose. So we kind of helped us a little bit with our rear roll steer kit by moving the inner point down. It's kind of like, I keep telling you guys, I get copied, but people don't understand why they're copying me. I've seen some other companies that offer a rear bump steer kit. Okay, so we understand bump steer is at the front of the car. When the car is, when you're steering, you're turning the wheel, and you hit a bump, and the toe changes, that's called bump steer. At the back, the rear tires are driving it forward, so they're not turning. What we get at the back is not bump steer, you get roll steer. When the car rolls, they steer the wrong way. So this takes about half of the roll steer out, which is a big plus. And we've actually had people say that on a dyno, they've seen the wheels do this thing on a chassis dyno. And when I add the bumps, the roll steer kit, then it kind of takes a lot of that out. We take all of it out when we do the geometry mods. Here, one other little thing for IRS guys: if your outer tie rod ends are shot, you can't find them anywhere. I mean, Ford doesn't make them anymore, and very few companies offer these. We actually went to one of our suppliers that made our front tie rods, and we said, "Hey, you can't get these anymore. Can you make them for us?" So we can get factory grade forged outer tie rod ends. So that's kind of like the where you start with the IRS, and then like the next phase would be switching to our tubular lower control arms and coilover shocks. And he talked about he had the rear shock tower brace, which if you go to coilovers, you need the rear shock tower brace. We've seen pictures of the shock mounts actually splitting away from the body. From coilover application because there's so much load going up in there. That's why we have our shock tower brace. It takes care of that. But and putting the subframe connectors in, great decision. I mean, that is probably one of the most important things you can do to a Fox or SN95 Mustang is get subframes, jacking rail and matrix. It stiffens up the center of the car. But anyway, that's so phase 2 is the tubular lower control arms and coilover shocks. Phase 3 is just adding the tubular upper control arms. They don't have any change to geometry. However, they're half the weight of the factory. So literally, two of my tubular upper control arms weigh the same as one factory cast iron upper control arm. So that's 2. And then the fourth one is the geometry. And what we do is we actually go in and we essentially cut all the pickup points off. And we have new ones, we make new ones, and we put them back on. And, the geometry is completely different. And they handle like a dream. Like on Kermie, my track car, we did all the development on. It's 2001 Mustang we turned into a IRS Cobra. I mean, I could put that car anywhere on track. I could drive it all day, handle it like a dream. Nothing scary. It's just a joy to drive. And that was kind of like the start of our geometry. So what I'm going to do is I am going to Brad put together a little slideshow for me on our IRS carrier. Okay, this is what the modified IRS carrier looks like when we're done. And if you've ever seen an IRS carrier, you noticed this is the rear mount, and it's a little bit different. In fact, it's a lot different. The factory mount has this great, big, ugly, clunky thing. It's heavy. It takes up a lot of space. So what we do is we actually cut the top of cut that off, and we put a bracket on there that bolts directly to the frame rails. So the rear carrier is just absolutely locked into place. And because of that, you don't need to put urethane or solid bushings in the front. It doesn't matter because we lock the back in, rock solid. So here's another view of it. And, all the things that we do is these upper pickup points are cut off, and these are actually the new ones we make. And the bottom, those are cut off, and we make new ones for that too. So we change both the upper controller mount points and lower controller mount points to get the geometry we're looking for. I mean, I stabilize the roll center. The roll center is just a little bit above ground where most race cars are, IRS race cars, and we stabilize the movement of the roll center so it doesn't roll around that much. And we do as much improvement to the camber gain as possible within the architecture that we're dealing with. And I also try to add as much anti-squat as possible. It's really hard to get a lot of anti-squat into an IRS car, but we do add extra anti-squat, which not only helps going forward, but anti-squat also helps under braking, keeping the back of the car down. Now here's a better picture of the bracket that we put on. Now it used to have just 2 holes for the SN95. However, we're getting so many guys with Fox Mustangs that are putting the IRS in. We've actually changed the bracket with some additional holes so that I'm not going to say it'll bolt to every Fox, because Fox Mustangs are the earlier years are kind of a lot different than later years. But this has been modified as a direct bolt up to the Fox Mustang. Use the existing threaded bungs that are in the frame rail from the quad shock. So, and then you can see this is our new upper mounting point. This is actually a bracket that's brand new. We cut it, form it, and then weld it on. And here's another view of the bracket, and I mean it's just rock solid. Again, our upper control arms, and then let's see what else. And here's a picture of the lower control arm bracket, which again, these are all new pieces that we put on. We used to just like grind and do things, and we thought, well, this doesn't look all that nice. And it wasn't real precise, so we just engineered new brackets to put on there. Now Brad kind of threw this in there, and it's kind of like, why did he stick that in there? And I was going to take it out, but then it made me think, this is actually an illustration that we used for the Motor Week video that we shot of Curry my car down at VIR for Motor Week TV. And they wanted some illustration. We used this illustration just kind of show the IRS. The thing is that also, what was also cool about that event, that was the first time we ran the prototype 4.6 FR500 motor with the FR500 heads, cams, and the magnesium intake manifold. So it was that was kind of a cool thing. So it just made me think this is actually like 20 years ago. So that's how long we've been modifying and building IRS Cobras, is like 20 years. There's some other people in the aftermarket have some bits and pieces for them, but nobody really specializes in them like we do. And the reason for that is in my early years, I worked on Formula Fords and Formula Atlantic and Super V SCCA road race cars. And they're all IRS independent rear suspension. And also back then in my sports car shop, the Triumph TR6 had an IRS. The Spitfires had an IRS. The 240Zs had an IRS. So an IRS was something I had more than casual familiarity with. I'd already been working and changing those for years. So that's why when the IRS came out on the Cobras, I was happy as a clam because I knew what to do with them. And here's the whole system kind of laid out. There's the carrier, and then we've got the lower control arms, and we mount the shock in double shear, so it's really solid. And this is set up for, unfortunately, just set up for a coilover shock with spherical rod ends, because that's what we do in racing, and that's what we do here. So you can't put a factory shock on there, and especially one that's been. We see a lot of people take their factory shocks and they put like a spring on it, turn it into a coilover when it wasn't designed for that. And I'm not a fan of that because the pin on the factory lower control arm was not engineered as a support point to take the full load of spring and shock. It was just engineered as a shock, and it's also in single shear, which I'm not a big fan of. But then you can see again, this is our phase one is the bracket, the bushings, the rear roll steer kit. Now, also, I might point out, we need to back up a little bit. Okay, it's hard to see here, but what we do when we do the other geometry changes, we modify the inner pickup point for the tie rod. So at that point, we take out all the rear roll steer. So I mean that with the basic roll steer kit, we take about half of it out, but when we do the geometry change, we take all of it out. Okay, so and then we've got the upper control arm, again, half the weight of factory. And if you take weight out of the suspension, I mean, you're taking weight out, which makes the suspension react quicker and work better. And I think the whole package between the getting rid of the factory pieces, the big huge springs in the back, and going to our coilover, it's something like 45 pounds that we take out of the IRS, which means that if you look at the reality, it's not that much heavier than a live axle. If you take 40-some pounds out of the IRS, it's really close to the weight of the live axle. So that's kind of a big plus. And then we have, of course, our sway bar end links. So that's kind of like the whole package of our IRS and all the geometry changes we make. Okay. Oh, there, I'm back. So, that like I say, I knew all about IRS rear suspensions and worked on them, had modified them way back in the 70s, and when they came out in 99 for the Cobra, I mean, I was happy as a clam. I knew how to make them work, and we did make them work, make them really good. And we are still supporting IRS carriers for the Cobra IRS, and we continue to do so. It's in fact, all of a sudden, it's like all that business is actually picking up for us because a lot of people putting IRS into Fox Mustangs, which I think is the coolest thing ever. I mean, you got a nice light car in the Fox, you put an IRS in the back, and then our front grip kit in the front, and a good set of springs and shocks, and all of a sudden you got just a wicked handling car. So that's kind of where we are with that. And the only downside to the IRS right now is parts are getting really difficult to find. I mean, we had this scour the countryside to find a replacement carrier for voice car that was in an accident on track. So we're actually looking forward of maybe starting to create our own pieces, but that's down the road. And we've got a lot of other things on the table right now. So anyway, that's kind of like where we are with the IRS. So, and also talking about Roy's car, and this is the problem I'm solving right now. It's like this is Cars and Coffee, so I have to have my coffee. Like I said, his Hydroboost, sometimes it works great. Sometimes he only has brakes, sometimes only steering. So it's kind of weird. So the only thing to do, I think, is get rid of Hydroboost and convert to manual, because he's already eliminated the ABS. So that's not even a factor anymore. So what my idea is, now I'm telling you my idea before we even tried this yet. What my idea is to convert to full manual And now I'll separate the systems, make the power steering, just run from the power steering pump right to the power steering rack, and not through the Hydroboost, and get rid of the whole power thing and just go to manual brakes. Now we've come up with a bracket for the firewall, and this is one of the Bear, turn it around, Bear I think called Reman or something, master cylinders. This is an amazing piece. It's all billet, it's all machined, even the caps are metal. But this is I'm going to try a 1-inch piston and see how that works. I think that'll be okay. We run the Pro 4R brakes on the front and then factory OE rear calipers. So this is kind of what we're going to try. I'm going to see if we can make that work. And because this is a 1-inch master cylinder, and we've run the OE brakes at the back, we're going to have to add a bias adjuster. Now this will go in the cockpit where Roy can reach it, and brake bias adjustment. Every single race car we do has a bias adjustment the driver can reach, because then if you're racing hard, you're going to start the race with a full tank of gas, and towards the end of the race you're not going to have as much gas. The back's going to be lighter, so you can through the race the driver can dial out rear brake, so he doesn't have a point where you got to hit the brakes real hard and then the rears lock up. So this goes in the line, and you turn it one way to increase rear brakes and the other way to decrease rear brakes. So we'll put that in the cockpit where I can reach it. We're going to do it this week, so I'm going to have to let you know how it turns out. Like I say, I'm telling you what I'm trying to do ahead of time. If it doesn't work, then I'll try something else. That's the whole idea behind R&D. You got to engineer something, try it, and if it works, good. If not, you got to go back, figure out why it doesn't work, and then come up with another solution. So that's the solution I'm working on. And so we'll see. Fingers crossed it's going to work, and he'll be happy. So I think I've run through all our regular stuff for today. And I think it might be time for questions, but I'm going to let Carrie jump in here if she's there and tell you more about the newsletter, because I always get this stuff wrong. And she's not the little mouse in my ear telling me that. So if Carrie, are you still out there?
I sure am.
There she is.
So so hi everybody. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are kind of doing some special things with our newsletter. So if you are not a subscriber yet, please make sure you subscribe. You can find the button to subscribe either on our website. You can find it if you're on Facebook right now. You can find it up in the right-hand corner, I believe. We'll say subscribe to newsletter. Or Brad is posting a link in the comments, so you can subscribe that way. But one thing I want to note is some rules have changed, and you need to double opt in. So once you subscribe, look for another email from us that says, "Did you really want to subscribe?" and click that button so we make sure you receive it. So that's what I had to share. And Kenny, if you guys have any questions, now's the time to ask them. We have a couple coming in, but we're looking for more. So if you have any questions for Kenny, now's the time to post them.
Also, I think, don't we have a break thing coming up?
Yes, we still have a break workshop coming up. Facebook has changed numerous rules. So we're trying to figure that out right now as far as how we can run that break workshop, get everybody registered. So as soon as we get that figured out, which should be this week, I'll announce the date for that. It will be sometime in July. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, probably it'd be a Wednesday evening. Wednesday evening, like most of my seminars or tech things. So yeah, it's like we had it all planned, and then all of a sudden Facebook changed all the rules. So I think Carrie and Bridget are trying to sort out how they can make it work now. So that's coming up. And actually, I think Carrie, we should be ready to maybe do another intro for the rear K-link rear suspension. We've been able to build lot 4 because it's so complex. We're building in small lots and getting because it's just, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool and it works like crazy. I don't know if you know this, Carrie, but I just heard from David Signorello, and he just installed the full suspension, 4.5, front and rear JRZs, and at I think it was maybe in Napa, he was 8 seconds faster than his previous best lap time with the full suspension.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot. And he's still, I mean, just first time out. I mean, we're still working on shock adjustments and getting the car tuned in. So he's still going to pick up some more time, but he's pretty excited. 8 seconds faster.
Is that from stock? Is that from stock to our car?
No, from the last time he was there. This is a Boss 302S. Okay, so
yeah, but was a Boss stock?
Yeah, it was the basic Boss 302S. He put all our suspension on, took 8 seconds off his lap time, and there's going to be more because we were just at the first stage of tuning. When you do a whole suspension like that and new shocks and everything, I mean, it takes, you can't just go out and just be perfect first time out. I mean, it takes a number of times, working with shock adjustments and alignment and all that sort of thing to really kind of get the car dialed in. So once we do, it's going to be even quicker. So, but anyway, I was thinking we're ready to do another introduction on the K-Link again.
Okay, yeah, because we just did a very small one to the Speed Therapy Academy and to the Speed Therapy Society. And that's another reason to join the Facebook group, the Speed Therapy Society, as Kenny will be introducing. You get early messages on what's happening in there. Kenny, I have a couple questions for you. Okay. Also, I think on the K-Link, also, I think that Steve Calistini, who had our rear suspension on the car, added the K-Link to it, and I think he increased by 3 seconds on track, if I'm correct. And then I also saw that
more than 3 seconds improved his lap time just with the K-Link.
Yeah,
and of course the shock.
And I think
change.
Yeah, and I think I saw that Cliff was on, and also Chris Mellitu, and they both have the K-Link, and they should be reporting back to us shortly how that does for them. So it's kind of exciting. This is just a class-defining product.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally years and years and years in development to get it released, but it's patent pending. So I mean, it's such a significant piece of suspension kit that we went ahead and patented. Just we got I can't tell you how many years and how many dollars we got wrapped up in developing this thing, but it does work. I mean, it just really does work. It completely decouples axle roll and body roll, and just run that through your head for a little bit. Okay, you can say we have some questions.
We sure do, and if anybody has questions, please add them to the chat, and Kenny will answer them. Here is our first question from Herstifer, which is a good question. Do you plan to do something similar as a kit for the S550 IRS?
The answer is yes, but it's down the road. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many new products I've got, backed up in my head. Yeah, I mean, I will at some point, because I'm not a real fan of the 550 IRS. I think that it could use some improvement, but I just haven't got there yet, and it's going to be a little while. We've got some things to do for the S197 first, like a new front suspension. And then we've also got Fox SN95 rear, Fox SN95 new front. So, and a whole bunch of little things. So, yeah, I mean, but doing see, here's the thing about the IRS and the 550, it's a major R&D program for us. I mean, it's a seriously major program to get that fixed. Like when we did the IRS for the 99 Cobras, it was a big engineering and development program. The 550 is going to have to be even bigger just because of what it is and how it is. So it's in the list, but unfortunately it's kind of like down the list of ways. Okay.
Okay, that's good. Let's see. We also have, I just noticed that Chris Mellitu mentioned that he is going to be going to VIR this weekend next weekend to test the new K-Link. So that will be fun, and all the upgrades we do to his car. So that should be fun, Chris, to hear back. Remember, Chris, that you can always, since you're part of the Speed Therapy Academy group, you can always call Kenny over the weekend if you have a question on car setup. Okay, here is Roy Merrick. What really surprised me was that the SVO did not come with an IRS back in the day. I guess it's a comment, but that's pretty interesting. Comment. We also have a question right.
I'm going to say, I think that was just too early in time for the IRS, for the SVO. And the SVO was, for those who aren't that familiar with it, SVO was a Mustang that actually came out of SVO, Special Vehicles Operation, which turned into Ford Racing. And it was really cool. It was way ahead of its time. It was a 4-cylinder turbo. The car was light. It was quick. It had a whole bunch of unique suspension pieces on it. But it was kind of like, I just think, too early. It was like too far ahead of its time. And it wasn't super popular. Plus, there was some infighting at Ford between the main Mustang group and the SVO. And they were kind of fighting back and forth. And the main Mustang group had more political clout. So eventually the SVO got dropped. So, but it's a cool car. I would think that if somebody wanted to put an IRS into one of those, it'd be even cooler. Okay, who's next?
Okay, here is another question. Hydroboost is this is another comment. Hydroboost is no fun when the accessory belt comes off. I take it, Brad, you've had experience with that one. And here is another question. Do you run any more or less rake in the car with an IRS?
Actually, IRS cars, I run pretty much flat. They seem to work really good that way. It might, if there is any rake, it's going to be it's just slightly to compensate for a full tank of gas. So if the full tank of gas, we probably put just a little bit of rake in, so a full tank of gas, or it'll come down level, but not a whole lot. Not like we do in live axle cars.
Here's another question. Did you make any steering upgrades to Roy's car?
No, we're using he's got a Cobra steering rack. The only steering changes are in the geometry. He's got the front grip kit with all the geometry changes. But no, this is going to be trying to get the IRS, the power steering and the brakes to work, trying to separate them so they're all working on different systems, so they don't interact with each other.
Okay, here's another one from Tony. You answered one of his questions earlier. I think that led into your IRS discussion. He says, I replaced all the rubber in my IRS with Delron in my 03 Cobra from Full Tilt Boogie. And to me, the car got way loose in the rear. What is mostly the reason for switching to a solid axle?
Okay, it's kind of interesting you say that, because I really don't recommend people use Delron in the back of an IRS car, for the very reason that you said, is the cars seem to get loose. And also, there's no window of there's no margin of error. Everything is like there. We did, we upgraded one car a long time ago with Delron, and I drove it, and I just didn't like the way it felt, and I just said, we're not going to do this anymore. So we don't. We don't use Delron in our control arms. We use the black urethane because it's a little harder than the red. It's also silicone impregnated. So yeah, the fact that you found that with Delron the car got loose is, yep, I can see that, because it happened to us, and that's why I don't do Delron anymore. Okay.
Okay, here's another question. Before we put this question up, this is last call for questions. So again, last call for questions, and I'll put this up, and then I need to chat some more. Ken. So I'll chat after this question. Here we go. Brad, IRS diff cooler for a race car, use a thermostat control or a toggle switch?
That's another great question. When we first started doing the IRS coolers in Cobras, we would just put a little switch on the dash. The driver could just flick on to turn the cooler. And we always do it's a system. We have not only the pump for the oil, but we also have a fan, because you can't always depend on the air that's moving around the back of the car. So depending on the location, either a push through or pull through fan. And we had it on a toggle switch on the dash, turn it on, and would turn on both the pump and the fan. What we found is some drivers in the heat, the excitement, of going on track, they forget to turn it on. So ever since then, what we do now, we have the system's thermostatically controlled and it's live wired. So there's a little thermostatic switch in there. When it gets to 180 degrees, it turns on both the pump and the fan. And it won't turn them off until it's under 180 degrees. Even once you pull back into the pits and you turn the car off, we've got it live wired so that it'll keep running until all the heat's out and it's down to 180 degrees. So we we discovered that drivers just forget. So we don't have to have them worried that they can focus on driving and not turning on or turning off switches. So yeah, that's what we do now.
Okay. Again, this is last call for any questions. Looks like we don't have any more right now, Kenny. But I wanted to let everybody know next weekend is, we know all, the 4th of July weekend. And Kenny's taking the weekend off. And so Brad's going to pick out a really cool program from the archives. So we're going to have an encore presentation. So if you want to hang out on Saturday morning with us, we're still going to be there, but we'll be playing an encore presentation. And Brad usually chooses something pretty good. So we want to wish all of you a great 4th of July.
Yeah, if there's something you guys would like to see again, let Brad know. I just thought of that.
Well, they don't know. Yeah, they don't know how to get a hold of Brad. So just put it in on one of our.
Just send it into the society.
Just list it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, how you sign up for the society is that's Kenny Brown Speed Therapy Society, and it's on Facebook group. So just sign up there and you can get all the information you need. Okay, Kenny, do you have anything else?
Nope. I took a picture of something in the shop that we're going to put up on in the society or on Facebook. I don't know which one you want to do, but the subject is what is it? What's it? So it's going to be a picture, and then it's a guessing contest. See who can figure out what it is.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll probably post that up this week, so that will be fun. Let's see, we might have one more comment here. Oh, Brad's sending in his email address. So it's b.grissom@kennybrown.com, or else you can Facebook message him. So, okay, and I think that is it for questions. So that sounds good. Kenny, back to you.
Okay, we'll kind of wrap it up. In review, encore presentation next week. I'm not sure what we're talking about the weekend after that. We'll figure it out between now and then. And then we are going to do a break clinic, but they have to figure out how to make it work with all the new Facebook rules that just changed. And when we do, that'll be in the newsletter and also in the society. So that'll be coming up. And then I think we need to start planning another introduction for rear K-link, rear suspension, which is pretty amazing. I mean, it's a mind blower. So with that, I'm going to thank everybody for being here today. I hope you learned something. Be sure to let your friends know and share this. I mean, the more the merrier. We'd love to have them, and start. If you don't forget, you can do a watch party by just clicking a button. So it's pretty easy. So I'm glad you could join me this morning, and encore next week. And I'm going to be enjoying the 4th of July. So I'm wishing everybody a happy 4th of July. I mean, it looks like Chris is going to be at VIR, which makes it an extra special 4th of July weekend. So with that, everybody have a good weekend next weekend, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Unless you're in the academy, I'll see you Tuesday night. Goodbye.